Hello and welcome to Mind, Body, Sleep, the podcast for anyone out there who wants to understand and recover from insomnia using a holistic perspective. I'm Beth, Kendall, your host. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to bring you this hope story because they are by far my favorite episodes to do. But before we get going, I wanted to offer some gentle guidance in terms of listening to the stories in a way that keeps you moving forward. It is so natural, I think, to listen to someone else's story and automatically want to compare it to your own, right? This is such a human thing we do. We start looking for why something can work or why something can't work. But here's the thing. When there is compare, it is often followed by its good friend despair. And that's not what the hope stories are all about. They're here to remind you of what's possible and help you feel a little less alone in this experience we call insomnia. So, as you listen to this conversation today, I invite you to consider listening in a new way. So, listening for truths, listening for insights, listening for the moments that resonate for you in ways that you might not even understand yet. Someone said to me once, "You are your own unique masterclass." And I loved that so much. So let the stories support you wherever you are today. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Patti. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I am very honored to be joined by another Mind, Body, Sleep mentorship graduate. Her name is Patti Komara. Welcome, Patti.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm excited to be here.
I know you are, and I am so excited for you to be here too. And I really appreciate you just taking the time to come talk to us. I know you got a lot on your plate, so we really appreciate you coming to share your story. So, okay, let's go back in time. And if you don't mind, just telling us a little bit about you and how insomnia started and what that was like.
Well, that's easy because in 1993, I hurt my back. I own a gymnastics school. This woman trying to do back handsprings hurt my back, and the doctor had given me muscle relaxant, Xanax of all things, why he gave me that, but I'm just going to tell you the story, and painkillers. Well, I was always a poor sleeper anyway, and holy smoke, did I sleep. And I was like, I don't know which of these three are working, but I never want it to end. And so obviously, after the pain was gone, I couldn't take pain pills. I couldn't take the muscle relaxing anymore. So I was like, well, maybe this Xanax will help. So I was on Xanax, and I took it to help me sleep, which, was not great sleep anyway, since 1993 till about 5 years ago. And I started with a little bit other drugs, and I can talk about that. But that's how it all started. And so now I feel that I'm kind of a recovering insomniac. So I love it. Yeah, I'm doing so much better because of your program.
Yeah. So, okay, so 33 years ago, you hurt your back.
Yeah.
And you said you hadn't been a great sleeper prior to that. But was there a time where you felt like you really did develop some fear and anxiety about sleep?
You know what? Because I teach, at that time I was teaching gymnastics, teaching group fitness. And with group fitness and gymnastics or being in the public, and I owned the gymnast school, so I had to have my eyebrows up to my forehead. I always tell people, you got to look enthusiastic and you've got to be full of energy. And I did get the point, it was like, I can't be that kind of Patti because I can't sleep. So then it's almost like I'd walk towards the bed and be like, oh, I'm dreading this. I know I'm not going to sleep. And where now, Beth, I put my electric blanket on and I get my nice soft blanket to the side. So if I'm cold in the night, I pull it up there up by the face and I look forward to getting into that bed.
I know.
Such a huge mind shift for me.
Yes. And I hear you on that because I feel the same way. And that was not the case for most of my life. And it's nice when sleep becomes just a delicious thing again. So, okay, so you had some pressure and you had some, what did you feel? I mean, it sounds like there was like some nervousness about not being able to perform at your peak level. And is that what kind of kept insomnia going, do you think?
Absolutely. And I just am such a high energy person and leading a group of people. I have about 48 employees. And when you're leading 48 women,
Yes.
you have to be kind to them. You have to be patient, but yet you have to be enthusiastic. And so my fear was I couldn't be the best I could be. And I tried everything. I mean, I tried, the cognitive behavior therapy. I literally took 3 years of sleep logs. 3 years, yeah, a sleep log, and I can't remember which book it was that I got it out of, but it's asking everything from the date, time to bed, how long to take you to sleep, if you awakened to what time was it, the drug you took, if you did, amounts of, oh my gosh, total sleep in bed, rating, it was just everything, and 3 years of that, and it got to be the point where I kept doing it because I thought one of these days I'm gonna have to go to a sleep lab. They're gonna ask me, "How do you sleep?" So I'm gonna keep doing this, and I kept doing it. I read every book I could find that I thought made sense. I read Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, which I thought was kind of odd because I really think he would have sold more books if he would have called it Why We Don't Sleep. But anyway, um, Renata, I think it was Alexander, I think was her name, the sleep workbook. I used that for a while. And of course, then, lately I was Googling everything, and AI went, if I'm getting up at 3 o'clock, what should I do? And, just everything to just find, because I thought there was going to be, here's the quotes unquote, an answer.
Right.
Answer.
Yes.
Or the one technique. Because I kept looking at techniques, have your temperature at this and the light's dark and, don't use blue light, use red light, all the different techniques and the little things to hints, every article in a newspaper or magazine that said, 3 new ways to help you sleep. Man, why, how to do it. And so I would, do that. So that was my situation is I just tried everything. And what happened was, I'm a big podcast listener. And I think you came across to me by recommendation. Like it said, we also recommended for you, and it was mind, body, sleep. And when I saw mind, body, sleep, I went, what? Sleep? Like, I got to hear anybody that's going to talk about sleep.
Yeah.
And then you have such a calming effect. And, just listening to you wants me to go to sleep. No, just it, but but it's not judgmental at all. And I have to be honest, my biggest fear of joining a program like this in the membership was that I thought you were going to tell me that I absolutely could not use drugs as of that date. Okay, no more drugs. You can't do that. We're going to do this without drugs. Stop today. And so I was panicked. I was going to have to do that. Number one. Number two, I have what's called night notes. Do you know what that is, Beth?
No, I don't.
Oh, this is awful. And I thought when you found out what it is, see, I never admitted it to you or Richard. But I think I might have in a session with Richard at one point. But it's 3x5 cards in this little plastic container with a pin at the top.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the night, if you have something you need to write down, you pull the pin out, a light comes on, and you write your notes. Yeah. And how disruptive must that be to my sleep to open up this thing and light go on your eyes in the middle of that? And sometimes, this is how much my mind goes. Sometimes I would have 4 cards of both sides with one thing like written, like might say, I don't know, I'm going to make this up, something stupid, like, check pay cards, and then it'd be a line, and then it'd be something else. And I mean, like 25 different things. I was nuts, but I believed I couldn't do without it. So I was enjoying the time program because you're going to tell me not to use it. But in the kind, calm way that you are, that had nothing really to do with it. And that I still use night notes and do great. So
Yes. Oh, you touched on so many wonderful points of conversation. And the first one, well, first of all, in Matthew Walker's book, oh my goodness, that book has actually created so much insomnia in people because it's so fear driven, and it talks about like just all the health issues that you're going to get. And it really can like put so much focus and worry onto this natural process of sleep that it actually, I'm sure that wasn't his intention, but it's actually created insomnia. in many people, in fact, many people have come in, that was like sort of the starting point of, starting to put more focus and attention on sleep was after reading that book. But then you also talked about this, the tracking, all of the tracking of sleep. And I remember when you first came in, and it can kind of throw people when they come in, and I'm like, really, there are no rules. That's really the only rule, is there are no rules. And but then didn't you feel like really liberated when you're like, oh, I don't have to do this if I don't want to,
Oh
right?
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Not only does it take time, but mentally to think that, I mean, I listened to your podcast for probably a year before I joined. And
Yeah.
the reason I didn't join earlier was for those reasons I mentioned earlier. And then why I finally decided to was because I just got to the point where these drugs, and after Xanax, it was, simply sleep, which of course for people when they always go, simply sleep, what's that? Well, it's, Tylenol PM without the Tylenol. And
Mhm.
then I went to Unisom and then of course I tried some of the drugs that the doctor would prescribe it and, trazodone and a different other, but not for long. Like, if it didn't work right away, I'm like, well, I don't want to be taking this anyway. But the really part that I could finally get off the drugs was I kept seeing where it said, if you take over-the-counter drugs to sleep, like I just mentioned, it's going to possibly lead to, lower cognitive or dementia, Alzheimer's, this type of thing. Kept seeing this headline after headline. Then
Mhm.
everywhere you see, if you don't sleep, you're going to have all that issue.
Yes,
So
yes.
then I had my two palms up going, okay, let me see. Don't take drugs and still have Alzheimer's. I'm just going to be, explicit about this. Or take the drugs. Take the drugs, have it, don't take the drugs. So then for a while I convinced myself, well, go ahead and take the drugs because some nights it seems to help. So then I thought, well, maybe then I'd rather have a little bit of a good day
Yeah.
because I got some kind of good sleep. And so when I found out that it really makes no difference, and that was a huge thing, was when one time we were on with Richard and in our groups, and I said, the thing that bothers me the most is that my mom has dementia and I don't want dementia.
Yeah.
And so I've got this big thing going if I sleep, if I don't sleep. And he told us about a study that was done, and it was a huge amount. And you're going to have to correct me. There's something like, 93,000 or something like that. I don't know. Huge number of people. And that it made no difference. That it
Yeah.
made no
Exactly.
That was liberating to me. That was, if you said, give me the three things in the program that helped you, that was number one, is that, well, then if I'm waking up at 3 o'clock taking some of those drugs, which can't be good for you, then let me try no drugs. And even if I wake up at 3 o'clock still, that's better than with the drugs. So,
Yeah.
it just gave me liberation as far as like, okay, I'm not going to die if I don't sleep, if I get a
Yes.
4-hour, 5-hour night sleep or something. And you learn through this program on how much you can get through a day and even feel good with very limited sleep. I mean, what I'm doing now is I'm getting to some nights I can pass up the 3 o'clock and I get to 4. Now I'm golden, Beth. I am golden if I can get 6 straight hours
Yeah.
and like 10, because I go to bed say at 10 and wake up at 4. Now 5 is great, but anyway, so if I wake up at 3, the thing that I also didn't know, and this is the second thing that I learned and made the biggest difference, was that when you wake up at 3, here was my big dilemma. Do I get up like some of the articles tell you, get up and go watch TV, or get up and go read a book and or stay in bed? And I found by my own, developing all these logs that I did better when I stayed in bed. But what I wanted to know was, when you're just lying there, closed eyes, being quiet, does that any way physically enhance your body? Does it help you in any way versus me getting up and starting my day at 3 o'clock?
Mhm.
And when he or you, I don't remember which program day it was, and it was probably in your teachings, was that in fact you can do either, but it does physically help you when you are resting.
Mhm.
So what I have done, and this is what my life is like now, is I am not taking, are you ready for the big declaration here? I am not taking any drugs anymore.
Oh.
I have had, now I have not, I wrote it down because I'm still keeping a little track, not a big chart, but just a teeny track
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
wanted to see my progress.
Yeah.
And so 21 days, out of 28 in February, no drug to go to sleep. March, only 2 days. And the only reason I ever do is if I've had 3 or 4 days in a row that are pretty low in hours, feel like eyes are burning and I'm like, I might need a little bit more. So then if I do wake up, I will take like a half a Xanax or something. But the whole point is that it liberated me to the point that I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. It does help me. I'm going to lie here. So I would, if I wake up at 3 of these days now, I lie in bed until 5. So almost on my worst days, I'll have 5 hours of sleep and 2 hours of rest.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, let's go back. Because I think you described when you were talking about kind of the health fears around this. I think that's really one of the biggest fears people with insomnia have, right? It's like, is this ruining my health? Is this, going to damage my brain? Is this going to kill me? I mean, sometimes it really can feel like that. But that study that you were talking about that Richard referenced for you guys is this giant meta-analysis. And I think it was like 37 million people.
Okay.
And they were followed over the span of 11 years. And the conclusion was basically that there was no significant difference in mortality risk between someone with insomnia and someone without. And that is really huge because it puts some of those fears to rest, just like you said,
Right.
And yes, that I'll just post that for people in case they're wondering. I have a blog on that. If you're wondering about that study, I'll put that in the show notes. And then you talked about just the value of rest and just how lovely. I think rest is so underrated.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think like the emphasis is so much on sleep that we have this ideal in our mind of what it has to look like in order to be okay, right? In order for it to count. But it's like really rest. Sometimes for me, rest is even more rejuvenating than sleep. Like if a nap or just whatever, I'll feel better with just a bit of a rest. But that is really great. And then I couldn't be happier for you about the medication. I'm so thrilled for you, Patti.
I mean, that's what to me has, well, I don't want to use the word cured, but to me, I don't feel like I have insomnia anymore.
Yeah.
I can go to bed. And here's another thing is by not using those drugs, whether it's at 3 o'clock with a half a Xanax even, or no drugs, or a drug at the beginning, I feel so clear-headed and I feel completely different. I can do 5 hours with the drug and feel groggy possibly or just tired or whatever, or and do 5 hours without it. And I'm like, I only have 5 hours. I feel great. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily even mean at 3, but even after my hour rest. And sometimes I'll admit that at 4 o'clock, if I've only rested an hour, I can tell that I probably am not going to go back to sleep and feel good. And I feel great and I have a wonderful day.
You feel
I mean, just the liberation to feel that if you aren't sleeping, everything's going to be okay. It's not going to.
Yes.
Don't be fearful that you're going to have a horrible day or you're not going to be able to be perky or whatever. No, it's not. You learn it doesn't happen. And it wasn't the first week of your program. And it wasn't because I started December 29th.
Okay.
Of 2025. And so it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks before I kind of had enough confidence to start doing the no drugs to sleep. But I had the knowledge of it. And I think one thing was just the understanding you gave me that it's not a disease or condition. And I think that's what I thought I had is like I have this, some people have high blood pressure. Well, I have insomnia.
Yeah.
And when you have high blood pressure or you have high cholesterol, you go to the doctor and they give you a prescription and then you're better. So I thought I was going to go to the doctor with this condition and get a drug and I would be better.
Yeah.
And when I learned about the fact that that's not the case.
Yeah.
And just the whole neuroplasticity, the whole idea of that my brain can change and not be fearful of it anymore was huge. And you, through your lessons, through those weekly lessons, and I will be honest, I'm the type of person that's like, 8 weeks, can't we finish this in 4? Let's go back, Yeah. And I mean, I did a 4-year Bible study program at one time, and I did it in 2 years because it was like, I'm not just doing 1 chapter a day. I'm reading 2 or 3,
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're so right on in the fact that it took that 8 weeks because it was very incremental.
Mm-hmm.
It was very incremental in the fact that I needed to do a little bit here this day and a little bit that day and accept that and go, hey, I'm okay. And maybe,
Yeah.
that made a huge difference for me.
Yes,
Was
yeah,
understanding that.
you described that so well, and that's exactly how I intended to create it. It was almost like, oh, I think of it a little bit of like just reprogramming back to what has always been there, which is the sleep that you're experiencing now. And it never really left you. It's just we developed some fear and anxiety about it. And that's the part that we're reprogramming. We're not reprogramming our sleep or rewiring sleep because that always knows what it's doing. But the incremental aspect of it was exactly how I wanted it to be. So to hear you say that is very validating.
And that's why I think it works. I think it's worked. Yeah, your whole thing, if somebody, when all my friends and family are like, I'd say something about, well, I got a good night's sleep. And they're like, you did? And I said, yeah, and I'm not taking drugs. Like, what? What? How did you do this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they'll say, well, tell me about it. And really, if I had to sum it up in 3 words, I start with sleep is effortless.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then I let that sit there and ruminate a little bit and let them think about that. And it's like blinking or your heart beating, or it's just natural and it will come to you. And, trust the process of going through this program. And I did enough to know that it has become effortless. And it's just an amazing turnaround for me. I'm just
Yeah.
happy.
It's so fun to watch too. I mean, that's the best part of what I get to do is just watching this in people from when they start to when they end. And with regards to the medication, the program is very neutral on medication. It's that we don't really look at it as good or bad. It can be helpful, it can be not helpful. I've seen it work in every which way. But I think what I saw in your process is as you were coming off of it, you were very okay with the up and down nature of this recovery process. So you might have been sleeping well. I remember you saying something like, "Well, I've been sleeping well for 4 days, but I know that may not be the case tonight, but whatever, it's okay. It's all okay." And so you really were leaning into that trust and trusting the process and learning to trust your body again and just letting that play out. And I think when we're in that state of acceptance or allowing, that's what really helps this process become not hard work, right? Because I
Right.
think this whole
Right.
recovery process is a really fascinating thing to experience. Definitely doesn't have to be a struggle or hard work, but I really sensed that in you, your ability to just kind of trust the up and down nature of it and trust that you were generally going in the right direction and whatever came forward was okay. And is that how you felt, or did I assess that correctly?
No, absolutely. And one time, and I know this is in your program, and I don't think it's on one of your charts, but I think, the whole concept of when you look at the clock, because when I wake up and I know it's not morning yet, I'm trying not to look at the clock. And of course, that's when, worse things like, because then you start going, what? It's 2 o'clock. If I get to sleep right this minute, I still won't, you start that whole thing.
Yeah.
But when you said it, it's just you look at it or you know you're not, and you go, oh, you'd normally say, oh hell. Well, now you just go, oh well.
Right.
And I literally say that because I love little quotes like that can get you through hard times, and that really has made a big difference. I look and I'm like, oh hell, and you're like, oh well,
That's so funny because we always say oh no to oh well, but you're saying oh hell to oh well. Or-
yeah, oh well, I was so hell, oh well, I've been doing oh hell, oh well.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna have to tell Richard. He'll appreciate that.
Yeah, like oh hell, no, oh well.
Oh well, I love it. Yeah. And okay, so what else do you want to share about this process for you? I mean, how did you go through I know you watched everything. Like I know you were very good about like you kept up with the curriculum and you did the little quiz and you did like you did all of it. But how in the hope notes,
Yes.
like what was your process like?
You know what? The thing that I'm a studier. I'm a
Mhm.
researcher person at heart. I'm an education junkie, and for me, like, oh, I loved your lessons, and I'm taking notes, and then I went back up to the notes and I highlighted the parts I liked, and I remember one time I think it was Richard maybe that asked, and it was funny because the question was something like, are there any good things that came out of your insomnia or any kind of of having hyperarousal and being awake in the middle of the night or something. And for me, there really was, man. And I got to the point where I was like, it's almost a gift. Sometimes I look at it as, oh, well, the oh, hell, oh, well. And I'm like, well, I can go through, and I want to make sure I don't, my memory is good. So I've like memorized like all the states in the United States and all the countries in South America and all the books in the Bible and all the presidents. So I just go through that and everything. And I kind of go, okay, well, I'm just doing this and go through it. And at one point I developed this, I sell my lesson plans for gymnastics, and the original lesson plans that I had created was in the middle of the night. It was like the 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that part where you're like, your brain's kind of going and you're thinking about things, but you're really not in control of it almost.
Yep.
And I had the greatest ideas for lesson plans. I've had great ideas for marketing campaigns. And so he said something about how was your sleep or something. I said, well, I couldn't go to sleep from 3 to 5. I was resting, but man, I got a lot done in my head. I created the greatest marketing campaign. It was a blessing. And he was like, wow, most people don't say that.
That's so true. I see. I hear you completely, because sometimes my best ideas come, in the middle of the night or right away when I wake up. And it's like there's something where there's a part of your brain that's a little bit kind of offline and another part that is online that isn't normally. And sometimes those things will come through in ways they don't during the day.
Is there a physical reason or
Yeah, I mean, I
the brain does
suspect that there is sort of, I want to say like this left side of your brain, or where the ego or your protective mechanisms or all those things like is kind of offline a little bit more, and your subconscious is more active, and you're able to sort of tap into those creative aspects of yourself that are on the right side of the brain a little bit easier when those other parts are more offline. I've read things along those lines, but it's a very real phenomenon. It happened to me yesterday. I woke up and I had just the most beautiful insights. I mean, they were just, I wanted to stay in it. It was like a feeling of reverie. And I was having this like wonderful, beautiful insights. And for me, historically, mornings have been a little bit like difficult, I would say, just kind of like, for me, my day, I get better and better throughout the day. But it was a wonderful way to reassociate with the morning and really experience that, and kind of like, oh, I wonder what morning that's going to come for me again. And it was a nice way to reassociate with mornings in a good way.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's wonderful that you're able to reframe that, and that it's not all bad, right? It's not.
Right. Yeah, I will tell you, and you know this personally because we've talked about it before the podcast, but my husband was on a bike and I got hit by a car, 4 nights ago or something, 4 days ago. And I wasn't even tempted to go for the drugs.
Yeah.
And I was up until much later. Like I try to lay down at 9:30, be asleep by 10 kind of thing. And this, I didn't get home from the hospital till midnight. And so I think I was laying down about 1 o'clock or so. But I had the little thought, now if I take a Xanax, it might put me like, for 5 to 6 hours, and then I get up and I'm like, nope. And I didn't take it this whole time. And that really is astonishing to me, because I just thought, how am I going to make good decisions? And then I didn't even think about it. I'm like, I lie down and go to sleep. And if I wake up and I'm almost to the point where if I do wake up at that 3 o'clock and I can't go back or something, then I'm like, like the oh well. But more than that, just kind of like, okay, well, maybe this is a chance that the Lord, and I kind of say that, the Lord was me up, and maybe this is a time to think about whether or not I want to do this or that or whatever. So I'm accepting it versus
Fighting it.
oh, yes, I want to fight it. So, yeah, I do have, I knew I was going to do this podcast. And one thing, like, I thought when I joined the membership that it was going to be all, like I said, rules and then also suggestions. Like it was going to be techniques. And, I'm so academic. Like I'm like a robot, as opposed to the more philosophy that has helped me do it. But I wrote down 12 things. That's how much time we have. That I have found that help me sleep, and that are just kind of little things. And I don't know if you want me to.
Let's do it. I think the listeners would really love that.
Well, this, the earworms, when you've got a song in your head at 3 o'clock and you can't hit it out. Well, I had read this and it is working for me. And it said to sing that song all the way through, let it go all the way through, let it go through. And at the very end, say with an exclamation mark, complete.
Yep. Kind of giving your brain a direction.
Yeah. And it doesn't work every time, but it has worked. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a technique that has worked. My son is an actor, and he said he saw this, and I was like, I love this. So when you're lying there and you can't go to sleep, he says, pretend like you're in a movie and you are the actress who has to pretend like you're sleeping. So I want you to, pretend like you're sleeping, act like you're sleeping, the rhythms of the breathing and everything. And then he says, go through the whole thing like you really are the actress. There's the producer and the director and everybody and the other actors, and they come over with a little clapboard, take 2, Patti, sleep. And but I'm acting this whole, and by the time I'm acting this whole thing, and then you're like, okay, I've got to act like I'm sleeping. And it has worked. And I just thought it was really an unusual way to do it.
Yeah.
So that was just a little technique that I had seen. And then your whole thing that one of your, I don't know if it was a podcast or if it was, I think it was a podcast about not going to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Is it normal to pee all the time? Yeah.
Yeah. Is it normal to pee all the time?
Yeah.
And really, I always tried to restrict fluids after 6 p.m., but I would, you did the whole thing at 3 o'clock where, well, should I get up? Maybe my tummy would feel better if I was flatter, and now I don't. And I think to myself, if I was sleeping all the way to 8 o'clock, I wouldn't be going to the bathroom. So why do I need to go to the bathroom now? Just lie there. Because when I do get up to go to the bathroom, it does wake me up more.
Yep.
Yeah. So your whole podcast on that helped me on that. So that was another thing that helped for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Also, I was trying not to eat after 6 p.m. and I have a little teeny bit of low blood sugar, I think. So I started having some high protein yogurt at around 7 or 8.
Yep.
And that has helped me. I take a magnesium pill at 9 p.m. and that has helped. I think it's helped. I don't know. Maybe it's all these things. Maybe it's none of these things. These are things that One thing that I read, and I make sure I do, is when I lie down, I do some deep breathing work, like whether it be 4 square, 4 up, hold 4 down and that, or just breathe in for 4, hold for 7, blow out for 8, those different kind of things. But in that time that I'm doing that, I have to get in 3 deep yawns.
Yep.
And so that is just all my ways of getting kind of sleep at that time. So that has helped. I've got a sun lamp that I use. It's 10,000 lux, and I just attach it to my laptop in the morning. When I get up, I go right to the computer, and for about 20 minutes, I have that sun lamp. And so, that's, they tell you, you want to get your light in your eyes, so.
Yeah.
So that's made a difference. And I've made a consistent wake time. I know that's in every book you see about sleep, but it's not like I set an alarm for 5, the time that I wish I could get up, and maybe this isn't even right, but because of because I'm working on my sleep, that I just set it for 6:45, which is the latest for sure I want to get up because I just need things to do by then. There's just, that I set it for that. So it gives me, then if I wake up and it's like 5 or 4 or 5 or, 5:30 maybe, I'm like, well, I know I'll be awakened at 6:45, so that's fine. Lie here and rest. So that gives me like a little corner to I know it's going to, I need to get up then and it will get me up.
Yes.
Another thing is I don't talk about my sleep anymore. My poor husband, poor Bob. Oh my gosh. It's like, I only got 3 hours sleep last night. I only got 6 hours sleep last night. Do you know I was up from 2 to 4? Or if he'd get up to go to the bathroom, I'm like, I'll have to breathe real heavy because I want him to know I'm suffering. So I'm like, Al, hi, I'm up. Yes. How awful is that? So I don't talk about it if it's a bad night, and I don't talk about it if it's a good night.
Yes.
Who wants to hear about it anyway? I think you said one time, which was genius. You said, think about a person that is a good sleeper. And if you'd say to them, well, how do you do it? And they would probably look at you like, what do you mean? It'd be just like, well, how does your heart beat? How do you get it to beat? How do you blink your eye? And you're like,
right.
I don't know, it just does, And so that just really was eye-opening to me.
Yes. Well, because I did ask so many people that question myself, and I got that look dozens and dozens of times. So, and now I finally understand why they looked at me like that. But at the time, for all those years, I was so perplexed. Yeah.
Because you're looking for the answer. Just like people try to lose weight. You're like, oh my gosh, you've lost weight. How did you do it? Tell me what you ate exactly. Did you have carrots? What did you have?
Right. Right. And I was looking for an answer that didn't exist because it was already within.
Right.
I was looking for it outside of me, and it was inside of me. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, to finish up, I just had the knowledge and the realization about the speed bumps. That was kind of key for me, is that it's not a linear,
Mhm.
straight up. You're going to not have insomnia, and then you have insomnia, and then you're not going to have it. You're going to sleep perfectly, from 10 to 5 every day, because now you're going to learn all these things. No, that it was incremental. It was up and down, and there's going to be speed bumps. And that's fine, because it's not going to last. If you have a speed bump, it's like when you're a salesperson, you're like, I have 5 no's before you get the yes. Well,
Mhm.
have a couple of bad sleeps, because you're going to have a good one. It's going to be just fine. And I use my mom's line, this too shall pass.
Yes. I love
Yeah.
that.
And then lastly, my line for everything is, I can do hard things.
Yeah.
I,
And you have done so many hard things, as most people with insomnia do.
so
Right.
those are my little suggestions.
Yes. Well, thank
And
you for sharing that. It's much
yeah,
appreciated. And do you think that those things are helpful now, where they maybe weren't helpful before the program because you have a different understanding of sleep?
100%,
Yeah.
100% different perspective, different way to look at things. And even now, if I see these articles of what to do to sleep, and it's just like you have a different outlook, a different mindset, a different absorption of what they're telling you, and going, yeah, yep, I get it, and so absolutely, absolutely. And if I come across anyone who's got issues now, it's like, oh my God, you got to join this minister program and tell you, it's her name Beth Kendall, and she's just wonderful, and you got to listen to her podcast. And so, yeah, I think you've been wonderful. And for you to share your experience, because that's the part of your podcast I love the most, is when you share that this happened to you and this is how you get out of it, and it's not absolutely perfect sleep all the time, and because then it's not like, well, this person has a podcast, so it's absolutely perfect now, and that it's going to be that way for me.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I don't know any other way to say it than just a huge gratitude and thank you, because 33 years for me, 56 years of worrying about my sleep, not getting sleep, making that the focus. I'm like, oh, I can't, everybody always says, what do you turn into a pumpkin at 9 o'clock? Because I believe every party I was at 9 o'clock, because I had to get my sleep. Oh my God, I couldn't stay later,
Yeah. Oh,
which is
yes.
silly, which
And now
like,
you're living your life again.
I am. Because of you, Beth. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you are so welcome, Patty. And this feels like a lovely place to wrap up. A million thank yous for finding the program and sharing your story and being a part of it, because it creates such a ripple in the world. And it is really, truly is my honor to be a part of this process for everyone.
Well, I appreciate it very much, and thank you for this opportunity. It was fun.
It sure was. And if this podcast has helped any of you out there, the best way to support it and help other people find this information is by leaving a rating or review. I read every single one, and it always means the world to me. Until next time, this is the Mind, Body, Sleep podcast. Bye for now. Thanks for being here today. If you love what you heard on today's episode, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast. And if you need more support with your sleep, join me in the Mind, Body, Sleep Mentorship. This 3-month one-on-one program will transform your relationship with sleep so you can get back to living the life that you love, free from the fear of not sleeping. Head on over to bethkendall.com for more details. I'll see you next time.